In a historic and unprecedented moment, the United States Supreme Court delivered a unanimous 9-0 decision, sending shockwaves through the legal and political landscape. This landmark ruling is poised to reshape the conversation around gun rights in America, setting a new precedent for how the Second Amendment is interpreted and enforced. For years, the nation has been deeply divided on the issue of firearms, with passionate voices on both sides. But this rare agreement from all 9 justices signals a monumental shift, suggesting that some questions about gun rights can transcend partisan divides. The ruling addresses 2 major legal questions that have sparked intense debate across the country. First, a Hawaii law that restricts the carrying of guns on private property open to the public, raising questions about property rights and public safety. And second, a federal ban on gun ownership for individuals who use illegal drugs. A policy that has affected thousands and raised concerns about due process and public health. By tackling both of these contentious issues in a single decision, the court provides new, clear guidance on the right to bear arms, offering a roadmap for future cases and legislation. This decision sets firmer ground rules for lawmakers crafting new regulations, for law enforcement officers tasked with upholding the law, and for citizens seeking to understand their rights and responsibilities. It clarifies boundaries for gun owners, business owners, and state governments alike, ensuring that everyone has a clearer understanding of what is and isn't permitted under the law. The court's unified voice brings much-needed clarity to a legal area long filled with confusion, conflicting rulings, and uncertainty for both individuals and institutions. The weight of a 9-0 ruling cannot be overstated. It transcends ideology, sends a powerful message of consensus, and provides a stable framework for the future of gun rights in America. This decision builds on past landmark rulings but also carves a new path for interpreting the Second Amendment, setting a standard that will influence courts and lawmakers for years to come. The conversation about gun rights in America has fundamentally changed, sparking new debates in communities, legislatures, and households across the nation. As the nation absorbs this powerful statement from the highest court, all eyes are on how these new legal standards will play out in our communities, shaping the future of American life and liberty. To truly grasp the significance of today's Supreme Court ruling, it's important to look back at the path that brought us here, a journey marked by debate, uncertainty, and shifting interpretations of the Second Amendment. Over the past 2 decades, the Supreme Court's relationship with the Second Amendment has been anything but straightforward. Each decision has shaped the national conversation in profound ways. Landmark cases like Heller and McDonald affirmed an individual's right to bear arms, but they also exposed deep ideological rifts among the justices. These rulings left many legal questions unresolved, fueling ongoing debates and uncertainty across the country. In 2022, the Bruen decision expanded gun rights even further, introducing a new history and tradition test for evaluating gun laws. This new standard sparked a wave of lawsuits and confusion, as lower courts struggled to interpret and apply it consistently. Judges, who are not trained historians, found themselves sifting through centuries-old documents, often reaching conflicting conclusions. The result was a patchwork of contradictory rulings that varied dramatically from state to state. This legal chaos made it clear that only the Supreme Court could restore order. The nation's gun laws became a confusing mosaic, with rights and restrictions differing depending on where you lived. Today's unanimous ruling is a direct response to that confusion. For the first time in years, all 9 justices have come together to build a stable, unified consensus around the Second Amendment's meaning and application. Unlike the sharply divided decisions of the past, this ruling provides a much clearer and more consistent framework for lower courts to follow, reducing ambiguity and legal uncertainty. Importantly, the court does not overturn the core findings of Heller and Bruen. Instead, it refines their principles, clarifying how they should be applied in future cases. The justices reaffirm that the right to bear arms remains fundamental, but emphasize that its application must be rooted in a balanced, common-sense interpretation of both history and law, one that can be understood and applied by courts nationwide. In a rare display of unity, even justices with very different legal philosophies have found common ground, signaling a new era of clarity and consensus for the nation's gun laws. Today, a significant legal question was resolved, originating from Hawaii, where a controversial law had banned licensed gun owners from carrying firearms onto private property that is open to the public, unless the property owner posted a sign specifically welcoming guns. This meant that by default, most businesses and public spaces were off-limits to those legally permitted to carry firearms, unless the owner took the extra step to allow it. Gun rights advocates strongly opposed this law, arguing that it effectively turned the entire state into a gun-free zone by default. They claimed it infringed on the constitutional right to carry firearms for self-defense, making it nearly impossible for law-abiding citizens to exercise their rights in everyday life. The Supreme Court took up the case and ultimately sided with the gun rights advocates. The justices ruled that while states do have the authority to designate certain sensitive places, such as schools, government buildings, or courthouses, as gun-free zones, they cannot impose a blanket ban on carrying firearms across all private property that is open to the public. In their decision, the court stated, "A state cannot nullify a constitutional right by presuming its restriction everywhere. This means that constitutional rights, like the right to bear arms, cannot be erased simply by making their exercise the exception rather than the rule." Under the new standard, licensed individuals are now allowed to carry firearms into businesses and other public places, unless the business owner posts a clear sign explicitly forbidding firearms on the premises. This important change shifts the responsibility from gun owners to business owners, empowering each property owner to make their own decision about whether to allow firearms. It gives individuals more control over their own property and how it is used. The Supreme Court's decision prevents states from making sweeping, one-size-fits-all choices for everyone, while still preserving the rights of property owners to set their own rules and protect their interests. Ultimately, this ruling reaffirms the right to carry firearms in public spaces, clarifies the balance between individual rights and property rights, and sets a new national standard for how states must approach gun regulations on private property. The second part of the ruling addressed a federal law banning gun ownership for unlawful drug users. Challengers argued the law was too broad, lacking historical precedent, and punished people for status rather than dangerous conduct. The Supreme Court found a middle ground. The government cannot disarm someone simply for being a drug user, but can prohibit gun possession for those whose drug use is linked to violence or threats. The court clarified that history supports disarming dangerous individuals, not entire categories based on status alone. This distinction is crucial, especially as marijuana laws change nationwide. The federal ban can no longer be applied to someone merely for legal marijuana use in their state. The government must now show a connection between drug use and demonstrated risk. This protects non-violent, law-abiding citizens while preserving public safety. November 30, 2025, will be remembered as a day of unexpected unity from the Supreme Court. Chief Justice Roberts announced the unanimous opinion, dismantling broad restrictions in both the Hawaii and federal cases. The court reaffirmed that the Second Amendment is not a second-class right. Justices from both ideological sides wrote concurring opinions, emphasizing the focus on individual dangerousness rather than broad categories. The key to the 9-0 decision was agreement on protecting rights unless the government proves a specific threat. The timing ensures immediate impact as legislatures and courts prepare for the new year. The Supreme Court has replaced legal chaos with a clear path forward for gun laws. What does this decision mean for ordinary people, businesses, and governments? For gun owners in restrictive states, it's a major victory. Licensed carry is now allowed in more places unless a business posts a sign prohibiting it. Business owners must now decide and clearly post their firearm policies, leading to a patchwork of rules. State and local governments must review and rewrite gun laws that create presumptive bans or target broad categories. Prosecutors can no longer charge someone for gun possession based solely on drug use. They must prove dangerousness. Legislatures must draft more precise laws targeting demonstrable danger. For the public, this changes the social landscape. Expect more visible policies and ongoing debate. The focus now shifts to where and for whom carrying is appropriate. Imagine a map of the U.S. Before today, several states had broad gun-free zones in private businesses. Today's decision erases those zones, creating a uniform rule. Licensed carry is allowed unless a business opts out with signage. This standard benefits gun owners traveling across state lines, though local rules still matter. Regarding drug use, the ruling shrinks the category of prohibited persons to those with dangerous conduct. In states with legal marijuana, Law-abiding users are no longer at risk of federal prosecution for gun ownership. For example, a veteran using medical marijuana in Colorado can now legally own a firearm if not dangerous. The ruling provides a new flowchart. First, is there historical tradition for the regulation? Second, does it target dangerous conduct or broadly restrict rights? The Supreme Court aims to end legal chaos and create consistency nationwide. Legal experts stress the power of a unanimous ruling on such a divisive issue. A 9-0 decision stabilizes the law and signals that the principle at stake transcends politics. It tells lower courts this is a clear command, not open to narrow interpretation. Chief Justice Roberts' strategy fosters consensus and protects the court's legitimacy. The ruling distinguishes between dangerous conduct and protected status, allowing justices across the spectrum to agree. It refines the Bruin test, focusing on principles behind old laws, not their exact wording. The decision is judicial minimalism, addressing two specific questions and providing a clear framework. This incremental approach helps the law evolve predictably. The Second Amendment is affirmed as a core protection, applied with care and common sense. Today's unanimous decision marks a new beginning in the national conversation on gun rights and public safety. Legislatures and Congress must now review laws to ensure they focus on demonstrated dangerousness, not broad prohibitions. Gun rights groups celebrate a historic victory. Gun control advocates highlight the affirmation of disarming dangerous individuals. The debate now shifts to policy choices within the court's clear constitutional boundaries. Communities, business owners, and citizens must decide what safety looks like and engage in the democratic process. The ruling challenges everyone to move beyond old arguments and seek nuanced solutions. The 9-0 decision calls for a thoughtful, precise approach to gun laws. The path forward is clearer. How will your community respond? Join the discussion below.